Team, we are on week 2 of our sleep focus for this month, and week 1 was just about getting a snapshot of where things were at, and we were looking at 3 main things: the length of sleep that you were getting on average, the quality of sleep that you were getting, and the consistency in the timings that you sleep. The length of sleep that you're getting should be between 7 and 9 hours. I would even recommend more towards 8 and 9 hours. I always take into consideration the fact that you guys are people who train, and so your requirements when it comes to things like nutrients, hydration, sleep are all probably a little bit higher than average. So I would encourage us to be closer, or working towards getting closer to 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night on average. The second thing was the quality of sleep. So this was something that you were just going to rate on a scale of 1 to 5, but we're probably thinking about waking up, or how refreshed we feel when we wake up, or what our mental clarity is feeling like, or our emotional regulation. Obviously, all of this plays an impact on things like our choices with nutrition as well. So that's another important factor, and our performance in training too. And then the last one was the consistency in those timings, which helps our body recognize when it is going to sleep, and so it can fall into deeper sleep cycles and promote all of those benefits. Obviously, we're also thinking about the long-term health benefits and the reduction in chances of ill health and disease as a byproduct of good sleep as well, but we're not necessarily going to feel that the moment we wake up. So these were the things that we were kind of using to assess what our current sleep is looking like. So now we've got an idea of what it looks like. We know kind of the direction that we want to head with our sleep. We're reverse engineering. And the first thing that we're going to do in this week is try and improve our sleep environment. So your bedroom, essentially. There are other things that we're going to talk about to do with habit and routine, but that's not going to be this week. That's going to be next week. So this one is just going to be about setting up your environment to aid your sleep. And so we're looking at a few different things that you are hopefully going to implement this week, if it's not things that you already do, to see if we can improve your sleep. The first one is keeping your room nice and cool. So the recommendation is between 16 and 19 degrees. Basically, when it's a cool environment, your blood is going to go towards the center of your body, and that's going to signal that it's time to sleep, time to rest. So turning the thermostat down, which it might be up during the day at the minute because it's winter, so it's cold, so we're keeping the rooms warmer. We might want to turn them back down in the evening or at night when we go to sleep. Or, of course, you can use things like a fan or something like that to try and keep the room cool. Or if you need to, open your window. Depends what you like. But a cool room, or a cool environment as well. So that could also go for the type of duvet that you use, or blanket or something like that, to keep yourself nice and cool. This is where the idea of having like a hot shower comes from as well. So the idea behind having a hot shower before bed, which you would think would do the opposite of keeping you cool, is obviously it heats up the surface of your body. That draws blood to the surface and doesn't send it inwards. But because it comes to the surface, when you get out the shower and you're exposed to the cold air, you then feel the cooler air, or it feels relatively cooler to you, and then that again gives you those same signals that you're about to go to sleep in a cooler environment, and then obviously when you go to bed. This is why when we are in bed and we do get hot, we might find ourselves like kicking an arm out or a leg out or something like that. That's you, without even realizing it, trying to keep yourself a little bit cooler by exposing yourself to some colder air. Okay, the second thing then is going to be limiting light exposure. So closing the curtains, but also blackout blinds, just real dark room is really beneficial. Light is just a signal to the body that it's not nighttime. So even if it's just a small bit of light, even if you feel like you get on better with just a little lamp on or something like that, sometimes I fall for this trick as well, where I think it's nice to have a candle on or a light or something like that. But actually, even if you feel like you prefer it on, it probably is having a net negative effect on your sleep. So just keeping the room really dark. If you can't, get yourself an eye mask or something like that to just prevent any of that light getting in, and make kind of giving the sense that it is dark even if it's not. That also goes for then the next thing, which is reducing kind of light exposure. So we are, like I say, going to talk about your sleep routine, and this is going to fall into your sleep routine, but making sure that you are not on your phone or a tablet or something like that before bed, because again, as much as you feel like it might relax you, or it might just be your moment to unwind after a day where you haven't had time to yourself, it's probably having a net negative effect. As much as you think it's okay, it probably isn't. So trying not to do that. Noise then is the next one. So zero noise or minimize noise as much as you can. Again, it's not so much, you might feel that it's okay, but it's not so much what you feel or what you sense. It's more like what it does as an interference with your sleep cycle. So you might find that kind of listening to a podcast or something is quite relaxing and it sends you off to sleep, or having the TV on in the background if you have a TV in your bedroom, which for me is an absolute no-go. But it probably isn't actually, again, it's probably net negative to have that happening. So getting rid of noise that stimulates or can interfere with your sleep cycle is positive. What you might have is some kind of white noise or binaural beats, or a type of noise that doesn't interfere with your sleep cycle, because having that white noise or binaural beats or whatever it is can help reduce the head noise. It can kind of essentially stop you from getting distracted. Or if you live in a neighborhood where there tends to be a lot of noise and you can't avoid it, having something that kind of blocks that out, like some white noise playing, might be more beneficial, because that white noise is going to block out the external noise but not interfere with your sleep cycle, because it's not like a stimulating noise, if that makes sense. Your mattress, pillows, your bed setup. I highly recommend trying to make this as good as you can. It's one of those things where sometimes it's worth investing in a little bit more, if you haven't already, for that additional kind of not just comfort but the correct setup. Duvets, mattresses, things like that, they last for years anyway, so it's going to be a one-time investment. Even if you decide to spend a little bit more on it, it's probably worth it for the improvement in your sleep. So one of my big recommendations is finding the right height of pillow, especially if you're somebody who either sleeps on your front, your side, or your back. You're looking for the right kind of height pillow. If somebody who rotates like me, maybe you want an additional small little pillow nearby. So if you're kind of waking up in the night because your neck is cricked over, you can almost just shuffle that pillow underneath and get it to the right spot. But then when you roll onto your back and you feel yourself kind of being tilted up by that pillow, you can almost just like slide it to the side and you get into a nice neutral position again. My understanding on sleep position is, I used to think that, you had to sleep on your back. You can't, it's not a good thing to sleep on your side or on your front. I have heard some people more recently say that actually that's not true. Sleeping on your front or your side is absolutely fine, especially if it's more comfortable. And that any study and research on it isn't kind of conclusive yet. I don't know, haven't actually looked into the research behind sleep position, so I couldn't tell you the answer to that. But what I've heard is, two contradicting things. Only sleep on your back, but I know that we don't. So I'm going to address real life and not what kind of study and research says. If you sleep in a certain position, set yourself up so that it's as comfortable as possible. That might even mean having like a V pillow or a pregnancy pillow or a pillow between your legs or something like that. If it feels more comfortable for you, it's worth it. Same for your duvet. Some people like a weighted duvet. I hate a weighted duvet, but some people like a weighted duvet. It makes them feel kind of like they're almost being hugged a little bit or something like that. That helps them sleep as well. Find the setup that works for you, but it's worth putting some time and effort into finding what that setup is that works for you the most. A real obvious one that probably people know is just to keep your room tidy. It's this psychological link between tidiness and relaxation. Kind of like a cluttered room can lead to a cluttered mind and things like that. So having your area tidy kind of really can help relieve a little bit of stress, so that's worth doing it. And I would also say that if you're somebody whose mind races when you go to sleep, have a notepad and pen. I know you maybe have your phone next to your bed, but maybe also have just a notepad and pen or something. I've recommended to people with a fair amount of success with this, that when your mind races, write it down. The theory being that when you write it down, it's not got rid of it, it's still there to deal with, but you don't have to log it in your brain and run through that cycle of remembering it, what you've got to sort out, the stuff that you've got to do, the anxiety it's causing you. Write it on a bit of paper, cool. It's there to be dealt with when you wake up, but you don't have to hold on to those thoughts right now. It's almost like what meditation does a little bit, but you're doing it as something practical. So that might be worth doing. And I say a pad and paper because obviously if you use your phone, you're getting that light exposure, which we're trying to avoid. Two more things that you can do. One is kind of, calming smells, lavender, that kind of thing. Again, chamomile, if it helps you chill and relax, that might be worth adding in via a spray or something like that. And then I mentioned kind of like that screen time, something that I've dabbled with before to see if it kind of helped. And it probably did, to be honest. It's just getting into the habit of sticking with it, but is using blue light filters. So some phones have a setting that can automatically kind of reduce blue light, especially in the evening. So maybe look on your phone to see if it has that setting and turn it on. Or those blue light glasses, which are just blue light filter glasses. They're not changing your vision or anything, but it might just help reduce the effect of that blue light. If you are looking at a screen before bed, for whatever reason, you can't get off of that screen. The other things are going to be more about habit and routine, which I'll talk about later next week. But the goal for this week is to just go away and implement a few things. You probably do a few already. See if you can implement a few more. And it takes a little while, and it might mean you going away and, finding a spray to buy, or finding an eye mask from the shop or something. So you've got a week to be able to kind of go and get a couple of these bits if you need to just see if it improves your sleep. And then next week we'll talk about, okay, you've got a good sleep environment now, what direction we're heading in with our sleep. Let's talk about the habits that you can implement yourself to improve that sleep, and the next week. Team, if you've got any feedback or any questions, obviously fire them my way, and hopefully this is being useful so far and can hopefully make a difference.